So my name's Terry Elston, and I am what is called an NLP Trainer. It's neuro-linguistic programming, quite a mouthful. My mother said I should do something that she can pronounce. I'm going to talk to you today about how to keep yourself mentally in pristine condition and manage that wonderful thing that you have on top of your shoulders called your mind. Now, there was never a manual for that at school. So I'm going to show you some of the tricks that we use in my profession to keep yourself on top of and swimming on top of the water. And even when you're going down below the waterline, how to manage yourself in those situations. So we begin with what I would call presuppositions. Now, what are they? They're like belief systems. It's like, what do you presuppose about yourself and or about life even before you start to speak? In fact, even before you get out of bed in the morning, you already have, I could call it like an already listening about yourself and life that you've got inside the hardwiring, inside the very control panel, as it were, to your electrical circuits, or your motherboard, as another analogy. The motherboard is already there. It's already been soldered in from your experiences through life. Now, because they're soldered in, doesn't mean they are there forever and that's it. The profession that I'm in, we use lots of various different tools to unsolder wiring that's got fused together, or a fuse box that's not working, or you need a new fuse, or all those kind of things, knobs and dials that need changing, renovating, or just completely stripping out and starting again. And one of the fundamental processes to actually make sure your motherboard is working correctly, or the garden in the analogy is clean, is to clear up all the old weeds. Now, easier said than done sometimes, isn't it? But you can do it through using a therapist, an NLP practitioner. I mean, Yvette Ankara has done one of these talks, and she's an excellent practitioner. You can find her on the mental health talks, and or counselor, whoever you choose, a clinical psychologist, as long as you have. Now, this is where what we do in NLP is a little different to all the other forms you find out there. We actually need our client to have an intention. And sometimes that's one of the hardest things. When you get out of bed in the morning and you kind of go, what's the point, eh? Or like, oh, here we go again. Heard it, done it before. Yeah, I made a resolution last year and it never worked. And, when all that sort of stuff is happening, almost the hardest thing is to say and believe, I am going to make a difference in my life. I'm going to make a difference in my life. I am going to make a difference in my life. Sometimes that's one of the hardest things, but we require that. If you need to be different, you have to do something a little different. If you're in this, if some of you are in that place where you can't even get there, you can't get to set an intention because it's just too far away from where you are. You're in the water, you're swimming, but you're underneath the waterline. It's like, it's survival time. Then at that point, what you need to do is to do something with your body physically. If it's too much to do something with the mind at this point, do something with your body. And do you know what? One of the best things to do, is probably the last thing you'll ever think of doing voluntarily, is tidy up your house. Do the washing up, clean up the bills, do the paperwork, the things where you go, no, anything but that, please. I will put me on a rack and stretch me, torture me with anything, but don't let me clean up my house. But I tell you, it's one of the most therapeutic and easiest things to do is to get and do something. Now, even if you can't do that, if you're thinking, no way, just go out of the house, take a walk, come back again, and then decide at some point or other, I am going to clean up my house. I am going to clean up my kitchen. I'm going to clean up my bedroom. I'm going to do my washing. I'm going to do my paperwork and do that, because everybody can do that. So if you've done all those things, you've completed all those tasks, now you can start to use this thing here. And you can start to think about, how am I going to remove some of these blocks, some of these old memories which are not supporting me? What should be happening in your life eventually, I know this is quite advanced really, but eventually all your memories should support you. They've all got knowledge and learning inside them, and they're like stepping stones to the new thinking. Excuse me. You see, there's no blockage coming out already, even by talking about it. So again, you might have to get with somebody else to do this kind of work, but it is about, how do I express myself? How do I get rid of these blocks? How do I get inside these memories and reframe them so they become at least knowledge and wisdom? Now, we're not saying that every memory should be nice and fluffy and peaceful. If you look at somebody like Abraham Lincoln, for instance, one of my favorite people in life, and you study, if you go online and study the failures that he had in his life, he had loads of failures in his life. His girlfriend died. His childhood sweetheart died when he was young. He failed in business a few times. He definitely failed at politics loads of times. And then eventually, I think the age of 52 or 62, he became the the president of America. Now, he must have had a presupposition: there is no failure, there is only feedback. Now, that's a very, very strong place to come from. That there is no failure, there's feedback. Look at what you're learning on your path. But, and here's the big but, this takes us full circle back to the beginning. You have to have an intention. To see any feedback, you must have an intention. I am going to succeed. I am going to do this, whatever this is. Now, even if there's a brick wall in front of you and you want to get through it, but there's no window, there's no door, there's no keys, there's no locks, there's no nothing, still, to have the intention, I am going through that wall, that's what's required, even before you try and get some feedback about what you're doing. So there's the things I'm going to give to you. Some smaller tasks like cleaning up, going for a walk, all those kind of things, for some more stronger mental tasks of setting intentions of what you want in life, and then looking at clearing up what's in the way. If it's a gardening analogy, then it's clearing out the weeds from the garden. And that might be a longer process, but it starts with the intention. So good luck, and listen to the other videos and see what you can get for yourself.